That's yeah. And then do you see my screen by chance?
Yes, I got your screen.
Okay, perfect. So I'll just sort of show you, like at the beginning, I've got two variations of a good, better, best sheet. Just go to this sheet here. These two, these are good, better, best sheets 1 and 2. Then I'm going to start with like a conversation of we've got these controllers and switches. That's sheet 3. Then I've got some pictures of our various switches. Then I've got pictures of backups and some accessories. And then at the end of it, I usually put in a full catalog in case someone asks me a question that I need a reference. Like, and then you can see I've like made notes on it. Those little scribbles.
Yep.
That happens all the time where guys will say, "Hey, what about this?" And I'll just scribble some notes. So when I do this presentation in person, usually I throw this up on a big screen if they have one, or I bring a projector, or I use the product. In this case, I didn't have all the product, so I just had to use the screen, and they had a really nice big screen in their training room, so it works well. But ideally, it's nice to have the product there too. All right,
Gotcha.
so I usually start by talking about this concept of selling a good, better, and a best. And then I illustrate this idea that a good might be $7.99, and a better might be $11.99, and a best might be $23.79. I'm just making up numbers here.
Yeah.
But the benefit in our line is that obviously you're just selling the same pump 3 different ways. And to go from here to here, contractor cost might be plus $20. So every time a contractor lands in this box, with our line, they're putting an extra $300 to $400 in their pocket. Whereas in a Zoller M53 conversation or a Liberty conversation, you can't do that because they're 257 and they're 237, and those pumps are all pumps and switches integrated. So you're just stuck with whatever you have. In our case, all you're doing is carrying these 2 different switches on the truck. And just exaggerate how that could work is that you can then also do Wi-Fi with your better or best options if they want to do that. And we'll get more into Wi-Fi later. Another illustration would be the same exact idea here where you have a pump, right? Same pump. Now you're selling 2 of them. So you have no alarms, alarm. We'll talk a lot about the alarms. Duplex. So this is going to toggle pump 1, pump 2, pump 1, pump 2. And if one of them fails, you get an alarm. This would be great for people with a generator. And then you got battery backup. So AC, DC, fully redundant system.
So
but again, you're looking at the exact same pump.
So going from that duplex, from the DVSA to the PSC 33, you're losing that. You don't have the dual, but you've got the battery. You're losing the.
So
you're going from dual,
that's
and it's going to
right.
operate. 1 2 1 2 1 2. It's also going to activate if the pump activated is overwhelmed. It's going to pick up on that. The second pump's going to work as well.
That is correct. So
okay,
let's just look at the alternator.
I'm just trying
that's
to.
Great. I'm glad. This is exactly how a training goes. So let's just go and look at the alternator first. That's a product we think you're interested in, right? And we'll just talk about that, and then we'll come back and do the whole presentation. So let me just find our.
So one of the
alternators
just alternates. Is that correct?
Correct. So we've got 2. We've got we've got the single activation. Then we've got what we call dual activation. Okay, and so let's just differentiate those. So you got single, and we got double. Okay. Why do we have 2? because sometimes we sell a 1 horsepower pump, 1 breaker. So the single activation goes every time a bottom float goes up, goes pump 1, pump 2, pump 1, pump 2. Uh-oh. Oh, what? Water got that second float. It's going to sound an alarm, and it's going to call the opposite. Okay, not both at the same time because you can trip the breaker. On the single, it's just going to run 1 pump or the other. Okay.
Gotcha.
Then you've got dual. The dual activation, again, same scenario. Something happened to our bottom float. We don't know what. Water gets up to this guy, and it's going to alarming, and it's going to call both pumps at the same time. So let's just take a scenario and do a little drawing for you, and we'll just walk this through. Okay. So you've got a pump down here, and pump right here. The drawing wasn't very good. Oops. Okay. 1, 2. So it's going back and forth and back and forth. Okay. You've got your lower switch here and your upper switch here, let's just say. Okay. Lower, upper. So every time your lower float goes up, it goes ping pongs back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. Right? Now water keeps rising, okay, and it hits this switch, and let's say it calls on pump 1 that time, and water keeps rising up, okay, and it hits the second float. At that point, we do not know if we have a bad float or a bad pump, okay? So the first thing it actually tries to do when it gets here is it says, hey, pump 1, I just tried to activate you. I'm going to try again using this float. And if it drops the float, calling that same pump again, okay, then goes on and on. Okay, now water comes in this again. Keep calling. Water comes in again. It's this lower float. This time it's calling on pump 2, and water keeps rising up and hits that second float. It tries pump 2 again, right? And it says, hey, I just tried you. I'm trying you again. And it drops the water. Now, what did we learn?
You had a bad lower
We
flow.
learned that we have a bad lower flow. Exactly. And on the control box, it actually tells you that with like a flashing light sequence.
Okay.
Now, if in case it doesn't drop the lower, let's say it doesn't drop the water here, and it goes and tries this pump, both of them at the same time. This is quick where it retries it and goes over here. That happens very quickly. But it will tell you, hey, you got a bad pump or you got a bad flow. And where that's really, really nice is in, because you're enough to test before you know what you have to replace.
Gotcha. Now,
Right,
is the third scenario is you've got just too much water coming in. If both pumps can't evacuate the water quick enough, is that?
Mm-hmm. Hits
Okay.
the upper float, calls both at the same time, and now you get full capacity of, if it was S3033, 50 gallons times 2, right? 100 gallons per minute.
Mhm.
You have separate discharges, you're happy. If you have single discharge, you're going to max it out. I mean, 1.5 inches can't take all that much water.
Yep.
But you can get more. Like, you can get more than 50. You can get, I don't know, 80, 90, whatever. Depends on head and all that too. But that's correct. Now, if you're getting that second float regularly, if you're getting that repeatedly, you're getting, sorry, that scenario that you just talked about, okay, where water keeps hitting this thing and calling both pumps. If that happened regularly, let's say it happened a couple times a year, I would say if you had thirds, you need halves. If you had halves, you probably need something even bigger or a bigger pit. Or
Gotcha.
The other scenario is what you lower that space. You
I'll extend
increase
the,
the space between the floats so that this lower float has more hits earlier and has more time to pump down before it gets to its top point.
gotcha.
And that's a more common scenario that you would run into in our combo systems. So when you look at, here's a good picture. In this guy, you only have that much space between those two flows because we can't go higher than this because we physically don't have anywhere to mount it. Now, if you remember, I showed you can take that float stick off. That stick that's in there, you can pull that off and mount it over on the side of the pit, right? So you can have here, do this.
What's the cord, like 6 foot cord? I'm guessing, I'm approximating.
You mean on the floats? No, they're 10-foot cords.
Okay.
But you could go like this. Here, watch. Let's see. Shot. Page. Copy that on my clipboard or page here. Okay. So let's just say we've got that. Let's just say we've got that in a sump pit. Okay. And here's our pit. Okay. We can take that float stick off and we can mount it over here, the side of the pit. And we can have our floats like that anywhere in the sump pit. We don't have to have them mounted on the combo. Does that make sense?
No, makes perfect sense. You create the level when you want to start pumping, and you feel that you need to have not an emergency situation, but you want to be you can control when you want that pump to, how long a run you want that pump to have, as far as depth in there, as well as when do you want to be notified. I see you're drawing the inlet pipe, so you want to be obviously below that.
Exactly. Now, on great occasion, I tell guys, look, if you have a sump pit that's like this, and your drain tile comes in here, then you don't have much choice but to fill it, because you can't have, a scenario where you're turning on the pump right here and pumping to right here. It's just, that's bad. So sometimes you'll fill the drain tile a little bit. You'll fill it to like there, and then you're going to turn the pump on there. So you're not filling it wholly, which would be bad, because you're going to start to get mold issues and stuff like that. If you have a foot above an inch, then you're essentially using that drain tile as a reservoir.
Gotcha.
Temporary, right?
Extension of the sump pit for the time being. You just have to be just have to be careful as to how much you let in there based on where does that drain pipe extend to.
Yeah,
you don't want that.
Common practice for. Yep. Really common practice for old school guys to put a pump on a brick. They always talk about that. Put a pump up on a brick or whatever. Well, I mean, that's exactly what you're doing when you put a pump up on a brick almost all the time. And by the way, you have a perforated basin. I mean, a lot of guys think the basin is like, okay, let's say you have a basin. Let's just draw this. There's a basin. There's your drain tile, right? If this basin is perforated, got holes in it,
Yep.
well, then you're already using all this area as a storage anyways.
Yeah.
Because there's holes in drain tile and I mean, it's all the same. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So then to put the float here, it's like, and it's not that big of a deal.
I gotcha. Okay, that
What you
makes
don't
sense.
want is your float up there. Some guys just haven't thought that through where they're like, oh, you don't want to put your drain tile float up in your drain tile. I'm like, why not? I'm like, you already have a porous basin. It's like
Yeah, it's not like you try to keep water out until that point. It's already seeping in around it. All right, no, that makes sense.
yep. And here, let's look at this. I don't know if I ever can do this in here or not. Let's do just one more picture.
You finding you're on the iPad all the time?
It's a tool I never really thought I'd use that much, but I use it all the time. I'm going to come back to this one for us. And I'm sure we can get you one. Did they send? Did the thing we sent? Does your laptop have a touch screen? Some of the new laptops have put a touch screen on.
Yes, it does.
Some guys like that. I'm not a PC guy, so I kind of put up a big stink about that and was like, I'll just buy my own computer. I'm not using a PC. If they and then I was like, you know, you guys want to slow my efficiency down and pay me a bunch of money to do that. And then Alan was like, just do whatever you want. So
Yeah, I find
I'm
for me,
sorry.
I find the desktop, the laptop good for, if I'm at the desk and grinding away doing that, but the iPad in the field always seem to be easier. Just
We definitely have some surfaces, those like Microsoft surfaces, like some
Yep.
older ones around the office. If you want one of those to do this kind of thing that I'm doing, I'm sure we can get it for you. And I'm sure we
Yep.
could even get you an iPad if need be. So I like to do this little conversation. So okay. So this is exactly, you know what? I'm just going to explain it to you instead of redrawing. So there's something called total. And we'll go back to our regular training, but this is more for you. There's something called total dynamic head. And total dynamic head means when you look at a pump curve, so regular pump curve, you have feet, right? And then you have gallons, right? And that tells you how much the pump moves given how high it has to go, right? Pretty simple. Now, but there are variables in that. And the variables are things like 90s check valves, how long is the pipe, how much friction is in the pipe. And so you have something called friction loss, Rick. Friction loss, and that's measured by the pipe companies per 100 feet. So I don't even really include that. But total dynamic head, meaning how far does it have to go up? That's your fixed vertical. So that's from the lowest point to the highest point. Okay. That's the fixed piece that you can't change. And then all the variables in the middle is the dynamic piece, which is like how many 90s are you taking? You have a check valve in, you have a ball valve in, you go up a hill when you get outside the house, you have a hose connected to it, all these variables. And then your end result is this total dynamic head. So I do this drawing for guys and I say, like, okay, look, we got an 8-foot ceiling, you got a 2-foot pit. That's 10. Okay. Now usually you're going up out of the pit, you're taking a 90 over to the wall, going up the wall and out of the house. So you've got a 190, 290s, 390s, plus a check valve. Okay. So 390s plus one check equals about 14 foot, because plus the 10. Right, 10 plus 3 plus 1, 14. Now, an 1.5 inch pipe every single 90 is equal to approximately 1 foot of total land.
Okay. Kind of rule of thumb, a foot for every change and
Pipe.
a fitting it's got to go through. Okay.
A pipe, if it's holding water, so like, let's say this piece is really long and it's holding water in it because it's got bad pitch, right? It's going that way instead of that way, then that's weight in the pipe too, that the pump's gonna have to move up and out. So I tell guys to count 1 for every 20 if they're holding water. I don't even count this piece because that's kind of not that big of a deal. Remember I told you they measure friction loss every 100 feet of pipe? So I don't even count the 20 feet of pipe right there. It's not a big deal. And these are super conservative rules of thumb, but they're pretty close, an inch and a half. I've done like the calculations myself, and I can tell you that's pretty close. Okay. So if you look at this 14-foot number, this is what I like to show guys who particularly aren't experienced with our pump line. It's from Liberty. There's some so a 237, of course there's a pump. 257, they're bigger pump, okay? At 10 foot, it's doing what? At 10 foot, it's doing 37 gallons a minute, right? At 15 foot, doing 26 gallons a minute, something like that. Okay. On a Zoller, M53, and I think I have it in here. Here's an M53, super popular pump. At 10 foot, it's doing 34 gallons a minute. 15 foot, it's doing 19 gallons a minute. And the reason that, again, that 14, 15-foot number is important because that's most houses we're going to see, right? And if you look at our pump here, this is our S3, 10 gallon, we're doing 50. And at 15, what are we doing? 40. So we're doing 2x on that Zoller, and we're drawing 4 amps. They're drawing 9.7. So we're using half the amount of electricity, pumping twice as much water in most houses.
And same horsepower pump. They're both third horse.
Yep, they call theirs a 0.3. We call ours a 1/3, so whatever.
Yeah.
And then Liberty, the one I showed you on the Liberty just now, this pump here, they call this a half. Okay, and look, this is their half. This is 257. They call it a half. It's a typo, and we call.
I lost you, Joe.
Whatever it was, 37.
I lost you there for a second.
So, on the Liberty side, we're killing them at both, 10 and 15, and it's probably 30% less cost.
And what's the reason? I mean, just efficient, motor efficiency. Is that what we're looking at, or the Peller? Or I'm just trying to think of if we're apples to apples. Okay.
Well, we're it's all of the above. It's impeller, it's motor, it's style, and what I can tell you is that there is no governing rule on what people can call whatever they want. They can call it whatever they want.
No, I ran into this a little bit with circulating pumps over the years. People kind of flubbing, numbers as far as what numbers are using where and how they get put on the curve, and there's a little bit of the Wild West going on as far as claims on the pump curves. So I'm not
100%.
Yeah, I'm not unique, I guess.
Here's a Little Giant at 10 foot ahead. They're doing 30, which is almost half of what we're doing. At 15, they're doing 10, and that's a 6 CIA. Okay, so they call that a third. I mean, I'm not going to tell them they can't call it a third. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah,
But my third does what most people's halves do.
gotcha. And just for efficiency of the unit itself, moving water as well as the cost savings electricity wise over the life of it. So you get kind of a twofold. It's actually doing its job and it's doing it more efficiently and cheaper than the other guy. I can't hear you, Joe. Joe, I can't hear you. Joe? I can't hear you. Can you hear me, Joe?
What about now? Can you hear me now?
I got you now.
Crazy. I think it's my Echo Buds. Hang on one second.
I lost you when you started going to the control cell sheet.
EFC2.
Still can't hear. Can you hear me?
Hey, I'll be right back. I'm gonna come right back. I think it's.
Okay.